Kevin Lemley, criminal defense lawyer here in Central Arkansas with offices in Little Rock, Cabot, and Searcy. Talking today about the felony charge for a felon in possession of a firearm. This is a very serious charge that we see quite a bit. It is a winnable charge, but it's a lot more difficult one to win than your typical case. And it's something that the prosecutors are going after because it's low-hanging fruit and it's very easy for them to win. So first off, when we're talking about this charge, we want to know which one that we're facing. And there's two that we can look at. The first is D felony. That's D as in dog. And if we can get that charge, then we're in okay shape because there's no special rules for that charge just yet. That's the lowest level felony. We can get straight to probation. The max is 6 years, and it's fully parole eligible like any other charge. Now, in certain situations, like if you're committing another crime or there's other circumstances, this can be charged as a B as in boy felony. And that one is one that we really have to focus on because that has a penalty range of 5 to 20 years and it's 100%. So if you get sentenced to 5 years on it, you're doing 5 years. And that's why we have to really focus on this, really get our best foot forward. So when we start off talking about how we fight this charge, first off, when we say possession, it doesn't mean like you bought it, like you registered. So when we're dealing with this, it's called constructive possession. So it doesn't matter whose gun it is or whatever. That's not going to help get you out of this. If you were touching the gun, if you were holding the gun for whatever reason, then you're going to be liable under this law. So it applies if you've already got a felony on your background. If you're holding a gun, there's just no getting around it. And sometimes folks will say, well, I picked it up to move it over here so a kid wouldn't get it. Like, that's just not going to help. Constructive possession also covers if it's right there where you can grab it. A good hypothetical I like to use, if we're sitting in a kitchen table and there's a gun on the table and there's 4 people sitting around it, then for purposes of this law, all 4 people have constructive possession of it because they can reach out there and they can get it. And we see this a lot in a car. The cops are going to pull somebody over. There's 3 people in the car. We see a gun. If anybody in there has a felony, they're almost certainly going to give you a charge for felon in possession because it's something that you can reach. So there are ways that we can get around to beating this, and we do some motions that other firms don't do. First thing that we're going to do is, as long as we clear this with you, if you haven't touched that gun, haven't handled it, we're going to file a motion for a fingerprint test because that's part of the elements they have to prove. And if we can show them that your fingerprints were never on it, that's evidence that you never touched it. Now, it's not perfect, and the analysis that comes back from the state gives them a little bit of a hedge, but it's a great first step. We're also going to file a motion to make the state run a history of that gun, see where it came from, who the prior owners were, who was it last registered to. And again, in the case law, that's something that they have to provide to us and they have to show to us. There's no telling what that's going to turn up for us. Cops aren't above planting a gun. It does happen here and there. So we do file those motions. Then after that, we have to evaluate this on a case-by-case basis, but basically, the further away you were from the gun, the better our argument is going to be. So if we're in the house and the police found the gun and it was in your room, then that's going to be a lot more difficult. And if it was in mom's room and it was in a safe under her bed, then we're going to have a really strong chance of winning that one. If it's in the car, it's a lot better if it was in the trunk, or at least if you were further away from it, or you could say that you didn't know anything about it. So our main way of going about defending this charge is filing our motion, see if your fingerprints are on it, find out the history of this gun, how did it end up here? It's really not yours. And then who else can we point the finger to? Then after that, it's a matter of showing that you weren't close enough to the gun to be in constructive possession of it. So it's a serious charge. It's easy for the prosecution to prove, and they love to jump on it because if they're bringing this charge, you already have a felony on your record, and they're wanting you to get back into the cycle in the criminal system and keep you there forever. But that's what we're here to prevent. Thanks.